What's going on YouTube? In today's video, I'm going to film day before tomorrow's Veterans Day. So for all you veterans, I definitely respect you. And in this video, I'm going to go over why I collect coins and I want to honor my grandfather who got me into collecting coins. And my grandfather is a unique individual. He did serve in World War II. He would be over 100 years old if he were still alive today. But in this video, I'm going to go over why I collect coins. A little upset today because I couldn't get my hands on this Marine Privy, although I did enter like everybody else did, but by the time I got in, it was currently unavailable. So, um, swear word to you AI bot Pokemon and sneaker resellers. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is why I collect coins and who got me into it. So, my grandfather introduced me when I was 10 years old. He brought me to a coin shop, and that's where I saw my very first Morgan Silver dollar. And I also saw the American Silver Eagle when it first came out. That was in 1986. So I was born in 76. So I was 10. I'm 49 now. And I like the big coins. The little coins were cool, but I like the real big coins. And when you're 10 years old, a Morgan Silver dollar is an absolute beautiful coin. And so was the American Silver Eagle. And I remember at the coin shop, my grandfather really didn't collect coins. He just knew of a coin shop and he saw that I was interested in it. The man did have a nervous habit. He always had change in his pocket, and he would rattle his change. So some guys bite their fingernails, some guys smoke. I mean, he smoked as well, but he would rattle change. So you could hear him coming from a mile away. And he, again, when he was bored, he would just sit there and rattle the change in his pocket. And I believe that's a habit of a lot of people back then because change was silver at one point in time. And I don't know what it was, but maybe it was just a nervous habit. Um, he had a lot of interesting things because of the atrocities of war. I mean, he was in the most highly decorated U.S. Army regiment of all time. So I'm going to get into that. So, anyways, I love the American Silver Eagles. They've always, still to this day, have been one of my favorite coins. And again, because I got exposed to it when I was 10. And I remember at the coin shop them saying, uh, he was asking the coin shop owner at the time, like, what do you recommend? And again, we're in a coin shop. I'm 10 years old. I'm pretty sure the coin shop owner was smoking. The other patrons in there were smoking. And I don't think my grandfather was smoking at the time, but that's just what you grew up with in the 80s. People were smoking all the time. So uh, probably had like nicotine damage, the silver coins back then. But it didn't matter. So I remember he picked out a few Morgan silver dollars and the American Silver Eagle. And I remember the coin shop owner saying, well, the Morgan Silver dollars are definitely collectible. And they were very collectible in 86. And I remember that was my favorite. So I got one of those coin albums and slipped some coins in there. I was really excited to see them. And my grandfather did not purchase the American Silver Eagle. And I remember the coin shop owner saying, these are a brand new thing from the U.S. Mint. We're not sure if it's going to catch on, but if you're going to spend money, I would recommend Morgan Silver dollars because, again, the American Silver Eagle just came out that year. So it was kind of like silver at the time was probably $4. And I think the American Silver Eagle back in 1986 might have been $10, and that was considered kind of a ripoff because it was more than double the price. So to put that in a good example today, uh, if you had 1 ounce of silver American Silver Eagle, that's worth like $48, and it's not a proof, and now it just came out, and now the U.S. Mint's trying to sell it for, say, $120, you would be like, yeah, that's nice, but who knows if that's going to catch on. Well, it obviously caught on. It's still being made to this day. It's one of the world's most popular, well-known coins worldwide. And this is an example that I got graded, that I got during COVID, got it professionally graded, and it's a very, very cool American Silver Eagle. And yes, I do list it on eBay, not really to sell it, mainly just to kind of show it off in my appreciation of the hobby. So, anyways, that's my little story on the coins. Now we'll get into my grandfather. So, my grandfather was part of the 442nd Regimental Combat Team. Um, there's 4,000 men, and they're primarily Japanese Americans. Okay, so and there were some Hawaiians too, but basically the way I did it, I did a book report on this too in high school. Got an A+ on it, by the way. Um, it was very hard to find information like this, even in like the 90s. Now that information's more outgoing, it's more readily available. But still, it's like one of those things in America's history where it's kind of embarrassing. Like we literally told, after Pearl Harbor, America panicked and um, the president ordered all Japanese descent and Japanese people that were here from Japan, mainly in California, to be sent to internment camps. So here's kind of like what the internment camps were all about. And what I was told is that someone would knock on your door from the U.S. government saying, all right, you got like 3 days or something like that to basically sell all your possessions, sell your farm, um, sell your car. You're not going to be allowed to have a car, own a car here. And it was a complete fire sale. And the Japanese, not born people here because they weren't born here yet, they still immigrated from Japan, but they're mainly like farmers and stuff, just trying to make things happen. And all of a sudden, they're told by the U.S. government, like, hey, Pearl Harbor happened. Sell all your stuff. You're going to a camp. We're sticking you in a camp in America. That's right, an internment camp. And this is what they look like. And it was a lot of people. Uh, and people have gone there and visited. I haven't been to this camp. I don't know if I would have any feelings going there or not again. And you got to understand too, like this is my grandfather, but he's not from blood, so I'm not Japanese. But he married my grandmother, and she is from West Germany. So I'll go into that a little bit later on. But they met like in their 40s. So when I was born, um, he was technically, well, he wasn't technically, he was my step grandfather, but I always knew him as Opa. Opa is in German means grandfather, and Oma means grandmother in Germany. But anyways, I do have his middle initial as part of my middle initial. So his legal name, and I was actually able to find his birth certificate. So he went by George Akio Iwamoto, but I guess his name was Akio as a born child. So he was born here in Sacramento, California, and August 10th, 1924. And his father was Masaru Iwamoto, and that was their address, which obviously was some sort of farm. His father was 30 at the time, and his mother was 19, and her name was Shizuku uh, Matsuda. So her occupation was housewife, and his dad's occupation was farmer. Um, and then what is this? Was a prophylactic used? Yes. What does that mean? If so, soul of silver nitrate? I don't know what that means. That's kind of weird. But it's very cool to see this birth certificate. I don't think I have this. I think my someone else in the family has all this. But um, yeah, this is from California. Anyways, very interesting information. So again, he would be 101 years old if he was still alive today. But he passed away in April of 2013. He was 88 years old. It's kind of a sad ending to his life. He suffered from Parkinson's and dementia. He really didn't know who anybody was, so it was a little hard for me as a younger guy at that time visiting my grandfather, but I still did. And there would be like little shimmers of light where it was like sitting down with my grandpa, eating a meal or whatever. But then he would kind of disappear in outer space, and he would call my grandmother like three different names. She was like his caretaker, his wife, and all this stuff. But he he had a feeling something was going on. Like when he was in his earlier 80s, he would kind of freak out, like he was doing things over and over again. There was kind of like signs there. So it's kind of sad the way he went, not really knowing what was going on. But um, he served our country. So he got the Silver Star. So he was a medic, private first class in the 442nd Regiment, 92nd Infantry Division, and he saw a lot of action. So he got the Silver Star, he got the Purple Heart. He actually took some grenade shrapnel as a medic, and I remember as a child he always had like a winking eye because he still had shrapnel in his eye in his 40s. And again, he entered the war when he was 18, or he entered the service when he was 18. So again, I guess put this in perspective. So here's some Japanese guys at the internment camps getting huge. Um, these are more propaganda photos, just showing like, hey, we're not treating our American citizens like crap. But let's face it, guys, they're all in a camp. Like, this kind of propaganda. Look, you can golf in the camp. Oh, so much fun. Yeah, look at all those freedoms. So it's very embarrassing for the United States to put our own citizens through this, but it is what it is. We were in fear, and we thought they were all gonna, you know, start blowing up stuff in California, I guess. But that was not the case. I mean, the Americans that were here for a reason. So, um, anyways, he's 18 years old. He's in this camp. It's miserable. Yeah, you play sports and stuff, but the only way out at the time was to actually join the armed forces. And at the time, you could apply for the Army. So that in itself was a very difficult situation. Again, if I was 18 years old, I'm stuck in this camp, the only way out was to go join the Army, I probably would have as well, because otherwise you have to keep living on this internment camp until the war is over. So the only way out at age 18 is to join the Army, but then you have your family members basically saying, how could you join the U.S. Army? They took our home. They forced us to live in this camp, and now you're going to go fight for this country that literally is treating us like crap. How could you do that? So there's a lot of that broke a lot of families up too, and that's you really don't see that or hear about that when you read these stories, because usually it's like you see some older guy giving his experience at the camp, but those guys were like little kids at the time. My grandfather was an adult; he was 18. So, anyways, he joined the armed forces. They would not train them though initially here in the United States. They sent them to Hawaii. So again, you think things are racist now. It was pretty darn racist back then. It's kind of like, okay, if we send all these Japanese descent American citizens, we'll let them join the armed forces, but we're throwing them over to Hawaii because the people in Hawaii at the time looked like Japanese people. So my 18-year-old grandfather went to Hawaii, and guess who's in charge of him? And guess where he learns all his bad habits from? Very young 22, 23, 24-year-old Hawaiian guys. They were in the armed forces. So that's where my grandfather learned how to play cards, gamble, throw dice, smoke, drink, you name it. But for him, it was probably better than hanging out in a camp, as there's only. But again, so imagine this: you're 18, you're now in Hawaii, you're trained by the Army, you're about to go fight the war, and I'm pretty sure they sent these Japanese descent American citizens to the very worst parts of the world to fight. They didn't send them to fight the Japanese. They sent him to first fight the Italians. So he was part of the 442nd Regiment, where they went all the way up the Italian boot, knocked out the Italians, and then they sent them all throughout Germany, and then their final battle was in France, and then the war was over. So they saw a lot of action, and it's really funny to me too. It's like, I like Saving Private Ryan and all those type of movies, but they don't ever show Japanese descent people fighting for the United States. They only show like Japanese Americans that were like the ones that would decipher like the secret messages or like listen in on Japanese warships, in the Pacific. But they never show the actual Japanese Americans that literally fought Italians, Germans, you name it. They don't show that in the movies, and I don't think they ever will because it's really, really embarrassing um, for the United States. Although they have made like those movies that go like straight to DVD or straight to VHS, they're okay, but you're not going to see like a Steven Spielberg or someone like that actually make a movie about the what truly happened. And I think it's a very interesting story. So, anyways, um, so he fights the war, and he comes back, and again, he's got shrapnel in his eye. He's completely like jacked, right? Because I imagine all the stuff that he saw as a medic as well, and all his friends, many of his friends perished or died or got permanently injured. Um, just death all around, right? Death all around. And he never really talked. He never really talked about it. He never talked about the war. But one of the things he did talk about, which he was really upset about, is when he came back home. Uh, he was pretty good at playing cards and stuff, and he sent all of his paychecks and all of his extra earnings home to his family in Japan, and he wanted to go to medical school. My grandfather was very intelligent, and since he was a medic, he's like, I want to become a doctor when I come home. So he comes home, and his sister was there, and his brother-in-law was there. They'd been married, and his brother-in-law, um, after my grandfather was there for about a week, his brother-in-law came in the room, and Larry said, "Hey George, you need to get your, get up, go get a job. All you do is, you lay here, you smoke cigarettes, you drink. You're so lazy. It's time to get a job." And my grandfather was furious. He goes, "You have no idea, what I've been through and what I've seen. And by the way, I'm very upset. You guys spent all my money." All the money he sent home was completely spent by the family. And his brother-in-law was like, "Well, what do you expect? Like, we have nothing. You can't get a job around here. Uh, we have nothing to live off of, so we lived off of your earnings, while you were fighting for your life, fighting for our country." And again, the family's really upset too, that the fact that he went to go fight for a country that now they are just poverty stricken. So my grandfather got so upset, he ends up leaving. He ends up leaving his house. He's like, "I'm never talking to you, my father, my mother, none of you guys. You're all dead to me. You have no idea what I've been through." And then he goes and decides to, the only job he could get at the time, because he couldn't re-enlist in the army part was over. The only job he can get at the time was to basically herd turkeys and sheep. So he's given a job, and again, the probably the crappiest job you can get back then. It's like, here's a horse, a dog, some camping supplies, and here's a bunch of sheep and turkeys. And you are going to live out in the prairie, and you're going to watch these animals out on the range, but like not on a farm, like literally out in the middle of freaking nowhere. So like the turkeys would go around, eat the bugs, the sheep, would graze on the thing. And his job was just to kind of herd this. And he was basically on his own uh, for like 3 or 4 months at a time, where he's all by himself. He's now living like a cowboy, which now I understand as a child. Like my grandfather, he would watch like war movies, uh, that kind of stuff, and History Channel before History Channel was History Channel. But he really would like to. He really enjoyed watching the old country movies, like John Wayne and stuff like that. And now I get it, because like he was out. He literally was an American cowboy of Japanese descent, World War II veteran. And anyways, yeah. So, uh, but he said it was like the most loneliest thing ever, because there's no cell phones, there's no communication. You're basically out there for 3 months on your own, no electricity. Uh, you got a horse and a dog to talk to, and turkeys and sheep. So he did that, And then that's kind of the only story of his life. And then I think he went back into the army, but like something happened there because it was weird, man. He like never used his VA benefits. He didn't trust the government. Again, I'm a child, and he always had like a winking eye, so he still had shrapnel in his eye from the war. He's in his 20s, and then like 20 years later, he still has the shrapnel in his eye, and he didn't trust the VA or any technology at the time to properly get it out. Like he didn't want to lose his vision. So as a child, his profession was a metals buyer. So he would purchase metals for a company. So he was an actual buyer, and he was a perfect employee. I mean, all the guys that hired him or worked with him, uh, he ran it like a military. So he was always the first guy there, and he was always the last one to leave. And he, like clockwork, would go get that Tribune. And I remember he'd bring it home, and the Tribune had to be still warm from the presses. He'd get up at like 5 in the morning to get his paper because he had his routine. Typical Japanese American slash ex-military slash ex-prairie farmer rancher, whatever you want to call it. But again, like he's in his 40s when he met my grandmother, and the way they met too is kind of interesting. So this was in Oak Park, Illinois. She was a waitress at a restaurant called the Cozy Corner, and he was just in there. He'd lived here in the Chicagoland area, and he met her. She was his waitress, and this is back, whatever, the 60s. And he tipped her. And again, my grandma just came here with my mom, and he tipped her like $100, which was insane in the membrane back then. That's like tipping a waitress today, like 10 G's. $100 was a lot of money back then. So obviously, I got my grandmother's attention, and they started hanging out, and eventually they got married. And I think my grandfather was married prior. There's a big gap between like his early 20s when he's out of the war, he's this rancher, to when he met my grandmother. But he never talked about that, and I'm sure he had a wife of some sort. But whatever, he married my grandmother. That's who raised me. There's some photos here too. They're pretty good. I should probably be showing photos. I'm telling the story. So this is my grandfather, George Iwamoto, and he was just an awesome guy. So he loved fishing, loved hunting. He loved golf, and he took me on my like first fishing trips, and that's when I discovered I was definitely got boat sickness. So we're out of Lake Michigan. I'm reeling in the first fish, and all of a sudden I want to die because I had motion sickness. And, the boat's going up and down. But he always knew everybody, like everywhere we went. And again, I'm a kid, like so. It was normal for your grandfather take you to a White Sox game, take you to a Cubs game, take you to a Bears game. But he was anti with his buddies. So they would have like this ongoing bet. Like if the Cubs had a winning record, my grandfather would have to pay. But if the Cubs had a losing record, the guy he made the bet with at the end of the year, which might have been like, $10 per loss or whatever, whoever came out on top. So my grandfather cleaned house like every year, except the one year the Cubs were pretty decent. My grandfather always cleaned house because the Chicago teams absolutely sucked. And so he would kind of like play on his buddies that were big Chicago, either Cubs or White Sox fans, and my grandpa would always bet against them. He would clean house. So anyways, I remember like as a really young kid, like he would take me to bars. I would play Galaga. He'd give me a couple quarters. I would play Galaga. He'd go sit at the bar, talk to his friends there at the bar, and that's how old guys did it back then. They would go to work, then they'd go to the bar after work, while his wife, which my grandma was a waitress, so she worked really really late. So my grandfather watched me, and then my dad had a business, and my mom was helping with that business. But I'd always hang out with my grandpa, and it was normal. Like he'd be smoking at the bar, he'd be drinking his Jack Daniels. He wouldn't get too hammered though, right? Because he still had to drive me around. And it was funny too. Like as a kid, I would be at the in the car, and he would put on Japanese war songs, not American Japanese, but like actual war songs and tunes that the Japanese would sing when they're about to go to war. So it's kind of weird. But again, he never fought against Japanese. He only fought, against Italians and Germans. And then he marries a German, he comes back here. So, anyways, that's the story of my grandpa. And here's some other photos. So I still have his flag from when he got buried and the empty cartridges when they shot that off at the Lincoln Memorial here in, I think it's Elwood. Yeah, it's in Elwood. This is the photo from his funeral. And this is me hanging out on the couch. I love this chair. This chair was huge to me. And there's my grandpa drinking a bruja. And I don't think he smoked in the apartment at the time, but I mean, we would just hang out, watch TV. I had little like army figures and stuff. They had like a coffee table here, so I'd play army figures. And he watched me a lot from like age 3 to however old I was. He'd always babysit me, so I hung out with him a lot. And yeah, good guy. So, anyways, shout out to all you veterans out there, or those of you who have family members that are veterans. Remember what these people did to fight for their country. And I can't imagine now, like, because I was about to join the army. Like, he got me accepted into West Point, and my mother said, absolutely not. You're not going to West Point. I don't want my son going to battle because, her father, her stepfather, kind of raised her like military style, and she didn't like it. So she understood the things, even though he didn't talk about it, the things he actually saw. I mean, dude, it messes you up for life. I mean, just imagine the horror that he saw, and I mean, it's still kind of what is it, PTSD or whatever. Like I remember as a child, like he couldn't have the blinds open at night. So when it turned nighttime and he had the lights on in the house, all the blinds had to be turned so you couldn't see inside the house, and that's just how he had PTSD from snipers. When you're going through Italians and German, there were some really good snipers, and yeah, you can't have the lights on, otherwise I'm sure he saw one of his buddies get shot right in the head. So that is, he still lived that way, even though no one's gonna snipe him. That was just the way he did it. When it got to nighttime, you turn the blinds so no one can see where you are inside, and you stay away from the windows as well. So I didn't realize that until like later. I'm like, why do you always like shut the blinds? But I guess what's the point? You don't want people seeing inside for privacy issues. But that's my grandpa, and that's his 442nd hat, and I'll miss him. Definitely miss him. So life is short. Make sure for Veterans Day you take your grandfather or your family member or your husband or your wife, whoever served in the forces or if they're currently active duty. Just tell them, hey, thank you. Don't say thank you for your service because that's so annoying. Just say, hey, I appreciate everything you've done. Whether you saw action or not, you're literally pledging your life to this country for freedom. And this is a very unique story because the same country he fought for freedom literally took the freedoms away from his family, and he never spoke to them ever since. So yeah, that's my story. So appreciate you guys watching. Let me know in the comments. I know every year I kind of do a video like this, but I actually was able to kind of find some additional photos and some information, and it's just crazy the stuff that they've been through, and it's weird to me too. It's like um, uh, there's too, so I'm gonna go check that out. That's in Elwood, in Will County, Illinois here. And he's got a little thing there. So that's my story. Appreciate what all you veterans have done and you active duty people, and we'll keep chugging along. Life goes on, as they say, right? All right, talk to you later, guys. Bye bye.